having that business vision is really important because it dictates a lot of the ways that you can not only find meaning and fulfillment in your business, purpose in your business, but also like how it actually is going to be structured. Because, let's say being location independent, that might be part of your vision for your business, right? And so that's going to influence how you set up, how you run, how you operate your business. So all of those important. What's up? Welcome to the Lifeonaire Show. I'm your host, Jason Wojo. On the Lifeonaire Show, we help people make more, work less, and live more, live better, and have awesome lives. And I am joined by my co-host, Polish Peter. What's up, dude?
But you were going to say live better, gooder, and all around.
Yeah, we
gooder. That's a new word, I think, in English language, right?
No, maybe they have that. That's maybe you learn that in your English classes, but that is not an actual word.
As a side note, not to divert too much from it, when I first started learning English, the teacher that was teaching me, I think she was teaching me out of like the old English school book, because she said, when you meet someone in the United States here, you should ask them, how do you do? So, Wojo, how do you do?
How do I do what?
Exactly.
They set you up for failure, bro. Well, we are not going to set people up for failure in Lifeonaire Show. Here's what we're going to cover. So if you've been listening to the show for any period of time, you've probably heard about the 4 stages of financial prosperity, which refers to how to win with money in your personal life. Now, there's also a 4 stages of business prosperity that we are going to talk about. And also it's interesting because there's a bottleneck at each of these stages as well. And so we're going to go through the stages, and, in future episodes, we'll break down each of these stages in more depth, but we want to kind of give you an overview of what these look like. And now let me also say this. These stages are a guide. They are a guide of business maturation. They're a guide of the evolutionary process of business. And it's not in everyone's vision to go through all 4 stages. So I want to get through that right away, right up front, because what you want to do for your business may be different than somebody else, different than, your brother-in-law or Sally or Joe or Dave. Your business is your business. So I want to put that caveat out front that there's no right or wrong way to do this. These are just the stages that we see. And also your business will likely be in flux throughout these stages as well. Like, you really don't just stick in one stage. You can kind of go back and forth and move between them as you go through them. So let's dive into it right now. So here, if you're taking notes, or don't take notes if you're driving, here's the first of the 4 stages, is to create your business vision. What is a business vision, Peter?
Well, so stage 1 business vision is basically writing out what you want your business to ultimately look like. I don't think anybody, when I first started, nobody ever told me, like, listen, sit down and figure out what you ultimately want your business to look like. They talked about business plans, but this is something that's completely different from a business plan. We literally look at how does this business going to support our life? Remember from our previous episodes that we've been talking to you guys about, of having this life vision. What does your life look like? So you ultimately want to arrive at something that's ultimately going to be your life. So that could include, I want to work 20 hours a week to support my life, and I want to make $500,000 to support my life. So now the business vision is basically coming alongside of that life vision. And where is that business going to need to look like? That in this particular example, I'm working 20 hours a week and I'm making $500,000 a year. Right? So the business vision is everything that's encompassing to basically have this vision of business.
Yeah. There. Let me unpack that a little bit more for people, because that wasn't super clear, man.
So speak in English now, So here's
the thing. It is a picture of what you want your business to look like, but it's not just about numbers or how many hours you work. Now, I'll tell you, I'd say everybody's business vision includes these 3 things. Number 1, how much you want to make. Number 2, how much you want to work. And number 3 is what you actually do in your business. But your business vision is actually much more comprehensive than that, because, most people will look at their business as only a vehicle to make money to support their family, or make the money, or it's the financial side of it. But, your business can meet needs for your spiritual life. Look at like a Chick-fil-A, right? Like, where you have spiritual components that are important to you, values that are important to you, reflected in the business. And so this can show up operationally. Like, let's continue with Chick-fil-A, for instance. They take Sundays off, right? They're closed on Sundays. That's a spiritual impact, a spiritual component of their business that is showing up in the way they run the business. And so you can have spiritual, you can have relationships. Maybe, this is something, maybe you want to run your business with your kids or your spouse, or maybe you don't want to, or, and so you can have every different component that you can have for a personal vision is just about, you can have in a business vision as well. And this is not a business plan. A business plan is like, hey, okay, here's our SWOT analysis. Here's like our marketing plan, blah, blah, blah. Like this is really a tangible future picture of what your business is going to look like when it satisfies all these different components. So you could have charitable in there. You can have, what
your needs, your wants.
Yeah, like all these things. And so your business, and this is where I think a lot of people make a mistake and really unidimensionalize business as simply a way to make money. And that is okay. I'm not going to say it's wrong, but that's like, thinking that you've had, if you've had a piece of a Hershey's Kiss, you've experienced chocolate. Well, that's not true. Like, there's a whole world of other brands of chocolate out there. And so having that business vision is really important because it dictates a lot of the ways that you can not only find meaning and fulfillment in your business, purpose in your business, but also like how it actually is going to be structured. Because, let's say being location independent, that might be part of your vision for your business, right? And so that's going to influence how you set up, how you run, how you operate your business. So all of those are important.
Right. I mean, think about it. If you want to work 40 hours a week, you're going to set up your business a little bit different than if you want to work 10 hours a week.
Yeah.
There is going to be different steps that you're going to have to take, different people that you have to put into place that allows you to work that 10 hours or 40 or whatever it might be. One other aspect that I want to make sure that's in that business vision that people are aware of is really writing out the why you are doing this business, because I think that's such an important aspect and it gets overlooked many times of literally writing out, why am I doing this business? Why am I creating this business? What's the reason? What's the juice? What's that thing that's going to push me, especially during those tough times where it seems like, things are falling apart, the Murphy Law shows up or whatever it might be, that this why is going to carry me through to keep moving in this business. I think that's an important aspect of it as well.
Yep. Yeah, totally. So, all right. So stage one is creating your business vision. Now, let me also say this. This is something ideally you do at the beginning of your business journey, but I also realize that many, many, many businesses come to Lifeonaire without this, and then they do it later, and that's fine too. It's better late than never. But if you are starting off your business, the other thing that happens in stage one is you kind of are a one man, one woman show. You're doing a lot of the work yourself. You're wearing all the hats. You're establishing a proof of concept. You're kind of learning the business. You're learning how to do all these things. I mean, if you're a cupcake maker and you open a bakery, you have a lot of things you got to learn. So this is what you're also doing in stage one. You're learning the business. You're making sure it works. You're probably not making ends meet yet. Maybe it's in the side hustle stage for you, where you're kind of doing it on the side and you're trying to just like, get up to speed so you can quit your job. So you got to really focus on not only the business vision, but you have to focus on starting to generate revenue. This is really, really important. Without revenue, nothing works. And so you really got to work on sales and marketing when you're in this stage as well, so that you can have people to sell to and you can make revenue from those sales. That's really, really important. A lot of people get stuck on, and let me also say this, is these stages are meant to be in order, but I think a lot of people will confuse or skip or jump around, and that's a mistake, because I'll see business owners, I'll never forget this. Steve Cook, who was my early coach, said to me, now Steve had done really well in real estate. First 2 years closed 102 or 104 deals. And the thing he said, I said, so what got you ahead? How did you like do that? He's like, well, listen, he's like, while everybody else was worried about their logos and their colors and their name of their company, and they're trying to get their website looking all pretty, he's like, I was out there making offers. I was out there making sales, generating revenue. And that's why do not get sidetracked into this, playing business owner game where it feels like you can pretend like it's you're a business owner and you're doing all these things to stay busy. You're incorporating your LLC and all that. And I'm not saying those things aren't important, but that's not the most important thing at this stage. You have to generate revenue, or else you will not be in business long.
Right. And I think the other aspect of that stage of generating the revenue, it also helps you to create a proof of concept. Like you basically beta testing to make sure
Yeah,
this is a brand new business. This actually works.
Right.
You know, without you going so much, spending months of creating all kinds of different things before you actually know whether the clients exist, that they actually want to spend money with you and all that kind of stuff. And that your idea actually works, and then you can tweak it a little bit better.
How many times this happened to you where you think you have the product people want and then they give you feedback and you're like, whoa, that isn't at all what I expected. Like they want something different from you, or they have the feedback or the suggestions or the ideas. And you're like, oh my gosh, like I didn't even see that. And so now, and the only way you find that out is by selling and by getting it out there and getting it in front of people. And then their feedback helps you reiterate and tweak and improve and continue to modify this.
That by the way has never happened to me. All my ideas are 100% brilliant. It will work every single time, and they're just out of the park kind of stuff.
I don't have time.
Without fail, every single one of them.
I don't have time for another therapy session here, man. We got to stay on the program.
That is why we need to test.
Right.
And in that stage, with the revenue generating, stage, you test.
Or you're just collecting feedback from the sales, right? You're seeing what, because listen, you're going to sit down with somebody to sell them something or to close them, and they might even give you an idea that you never even had. And you're like, I never even considered that. So this is why it's so important. I think more people get stuck here. Like they just never do the important things in business. But we could go on and on forever though. Let's continue. So stage 2, meeting your financial needs. Now, this means now we're generating revenue. We have a proof of concept. We understand that we have a functional business that is actually, capable of generating money. And so when we say we're covering and meeting your financial needs, we're talking about your business needs and your personal life. Now, this is a basic lifestyle. This isn't, an episode of Cribs, right? This isn't Robin Leach, announcing and walking people through your house. This is a basic lifestyle. One of the concepts we teach in Lifeonaire is to keep things simple, especially at the early stages, so that you can get through these stages as quickly as possible. And essentially what you're doing, the way you do that, by the way, is keep your overhead, your expenses, the complexity in your life low. And by the way, you're still probably working more than you want to. You're still probably violating your vision. You're doing a lot of the work yourself, but you are building your way towards profitability, and you're building your way now that you have the money coming in. You're building your way towards working more into your strength zones than you were previously. Like early on, you're doing everything. Like that's pretty much almost all businesses when they start. The founder is usually doing all the work. Not always, but a vast majority of times. And so now you're making your ends meet. And now you got to start focusing on profitability and moving into your strength zone so that you can actually, because you don't have a business yet. And I don't say that to be, dismissive or offensive, but if your business is requiring you to run it, it's not a business yet. You're self-employed. And so, and by the way, again, nothing wrong with that, but like, if you want to get through the stages, we got to start moving you to where you're most effective.
Right.
That's it. All right.
That's mine as well.
Dude, listen, when I say it, I can't argue with you, man. I can't argue with you.
No, but here's the thing. What I want you guys to get out of this particular segment is that when you start looking at your profitability and you start looking at going toward your genius zone, some of these things are going to come from what? Guess what? The business vision that we created at the beginning. You're going to start seeing how you're going to come more full circle into this business vision. So that's why it's so important to have this business vision at the beginning, because it's sort of like a guiding light to helps you move along those stages and helps you to see if you're actually moving along those stages to get closer to that vision. So when we talk about meeting your needs, it's a lot easier to scale something that's simple rather than it's complicated. So when you're talking about those kinds of things, notice the different themes that are running alongside what we're talking about here, right? Business vision. First, you talk about revenue. Then we talk about profitability, keeping things simple. If you start following that theme work, the probability of you being more successful in the business is probably higher than what were before.
Hey, we'll get right back into our interview, but before I do, I want to tell you about something that's incredibly awesome and amazing, and that is what I consider to be our freedom formula in Lifeonaire. Now, if you're a Lifeonaire, you've been following us for any period of time, you know we're all about helping you create a life and business you love. You need to have both, right? You can't just have a great life and your business isn't making you any money, because that's gonna stink. And you can't have a business that completely takes up all of your free time and you're stressed out and running around with your hair on fire, because then you're not gonna have the life you want, right? And so you need to have both of these, and that's why we have 2 events. We do these all over the country. We do a handful per year. Peter and I teach these personally. And this is the Get a Life Getaway and the Business Builder Workshop. So if you don't have the life you want, you need to put together your vision and your plan for your blueprint for the ideal life you want to live in every single area, and reverse engineer the exact steps to make that a reality. Get to the Get a Life Getaway. If business is your challenge right now and you need to go there first, totally cool. We totally get that. And so come to our Business Builder Workshop, because we teach you how to run a real business, not one that requires you to do everything in it and wear all the hats and have you running around with your hair on fire constantly. Like, that's not a business, that's a job. And it's a bad job because you got a bad boss and you're the bad boss. And so let's get you out of that role. Let's help you create a business you love that works without you. So you have time for the vacations, you have time for life's curveballs, you have time to do all the things you want to do, and the finances to support that and finance it. So go to lifeonaire.com right now. We also have a very special offer on both of these events, and I can't tell you how long it's going to last because I don't know. Peter, tell them about the special promo we've set up.
So here is the special promo we got for you. Because you're a loyal listener to us, you listen to the podcast, you endure the listening to both of us here every single week, we have a special 50% off coupon. That's 50, half of it off. So when you go to lifeonaire.com, click on the tab up at the top of the page called Events. Pick the event that you want to go to. At the checkout page, there is an area called the promo code. Type in the word podcast, PODCAST. That's my English language. I think I got this right. Podcast, right?
Yeah.
Hit apply, and you're going to instantly get 50% off your ticket price. Come to the event, introduce yourself to us. We're going to be there. Tell us you found us on the podcast. You got it from here. We love meeting the listeners from the podcast. And let's help you create the life that you want and your business that you love.
Let's do it. We'll see you guys at an event soon. Put this on the calendar. This will change your life. This will change your business. Let's get back to our podcast episode right now. Did you say theme work? What did you say there?
Teamwork.
What is that?
THEME. Okay.
Teamwork. Okay.
Like a teamwork.
That is a new word, actually. Okay.
Hey, you know what?
There it
This
is.
is the Lifeonaire show. I created the English language. That's Polish Peter version, and we're going to go with that.
Okay. So, well, and here, listen. And along those lines, people might be like wondering, well, hold on a second. I don't have to worry about profitability at stage 1. Not really, because you just have to see if you can sell stuff and make money. Now, of course, if your margins are terrible, and if you don't have something that's viable in terms of being able to make you a profit, then you'll discover that very quickly.
Right.
However, you got to just sell stuff. Like, this is where I think people get ahead of themselves and start worrying about all of their margins and squeezing every penny out of everything. Like, that is not time for it yet. One of the things I've learned about business is like, it's very formulaic. Once you learn the formula, and you have to go in order. Like, it's just like a recipe. You have to go in order. And so it's not something that you really want to fool around with too much. And so, yes, you have to build profitability. I mean, you have to build profitability into a successful business, but you have to do it in its proper place, because if you have no revenue, you have no chance of a profit. And so that's where, you want to really focus on profitability there. The way you do that as well is really look at your expenses, really make sure you're running an efficient, lean team. Make sure your margins are good. You want to make sure that, things are appropriately kind of being spent and incoming in the right order and proper proportion. And so that's where really, you want to be on profit. Now, the one little hack I love when it comes to profit is, Mike Michalowicz, who's been a multi-time guest on the Lifeonaire show, his book, Profit First. I love that book. Super simple concept, but very applicable. So go pick that up if you haven't done that yet. And make sure you tell me you learned about it on the Lifeonaire show. So check that out. That's just a little hack for profitability. So stage 3, this is where we are now generating excess cash. So we've gone through stage 1, we've built our revenue. We've gone through stage 2, we're profitable. We've started looking at where our highest and best use for our time is. Now, that's where what we should be doing in the business. And so in stage 3, now we're generating excess cash. And this is where we focus on the seed process. Now, you've probably heard about us talk about the seed process in the past. This is SEAD. I couldn't make the acronym work with SEED, and it stands for Strategic Elimination, Automation, and Delegation. And now what we're doing is, now the strategic part comes from the vision, which we already did, right? So we're already positioned perfectly for this process. And then we eliminate, automate, and delegate based on that vision to get us through stage 3. And this is what allows us to start to really, really step back as a business owner and not only streamline our business, but get the things off of our plate and onto other people's or other processes, systems, technology, get it on their plates that now you can really start to have a business. And this is kind of, in my mind, man, like the first stage of really business ownership.
Right. And that seed method is in that particular order. You first eliminate, then you automate, then you delegate, and no other way. Because what ends up happening a lot of times think about this, is there is a reason why it's strategic, because you have to start looking from the perspective of like, okay, what is it that I need to automate? I don't want to automate anything that I can eliminate. And most people don't actually look at it that way. Yeah. They just go and pick something. Ooh, you know what? I don't need to automate A, B, C, D. Well, how many times do you actually do this thing that you feel like you need to automate? People don't talk about that. The other aspect is, notice that this seed method is further down the line, and it's not the first thing that you do when you're setting up your business.
Yeah.
I literally had a conversation with one of my students not too long ago, because he started a new company and he's talking about automating different things, and he hasn't sold one thing yet. I said, well, dude, start selling stuff. Make sure this thing is working, because you don't know what you want to automate. We don't know what we need to automate yet. And start doing those stages like we're talking about it. First, you got to get revenue. Then you got to get profitable. And now you're doing the seed method so you can start scaling that business. That seed method is actually what allows you to scale the business to a whole new level.
Yeah, totally, man. And it's so true, because like, listen, I get it. It's sexy. Like everybody talks about automation. Sexy? Like this, like automation is sexy.
I thought you were talking
having
about
a team. Yeah. No, you're hiring, leading, saying you have 10 employees. It's all chest pounding. Sounds cool. But it's not where you need to be unless you need to be there. And so you really got to just take your time, go through the stages, and get there. Plus, quite frankly, like most people, like automation in particular, we've talked a lot about automation in previous episodes, is like, you kind of need to do it yourself before you even know how it's supposed to be done. You have to have a well-oiled machine. You have to have a well thought out and, smooth process before you can automate it well. Hiring people, you kind of probably need to know a little about, what your business is doing before you can bring on the right person, and how you can equip them to be successful too. Because like, I can't tell you, and speaking of which, like we'll have to do a whole different episode on this someday, man. But like, leading people is so different than being a technician in the field. Like because you're a good trim carpenter does not mean you can run a crew. And so you have to learn those skills. And so stage 3, you're leaning into this stuff. And like Peter said, this is also where this is the magic. This is a secret sauce for scaling, because, automation and delegation, automation in particular, like automation is by nature scalable. Like it doesn't matter if it runs 100 times or 100,000 times. And then people, once you get good with people, now your skills elevate themselves, and you can start to even hire mid-managers and maybe even department managers if you get large enough. So that's all part of the seed process.
I feel like to some level, the automation part, elimination, you just eliminate stuff, right? So you don't need to do this. So it's kind of clarifies or simplifies the business a little bit. The automation allows you to scale the business. And I think the delegation part, for the most part, allows you to scale you. And when you start looking from that perspective, when you become a CEO of a bigger company, you need to delegate, even to a point where things that you sometimes really love doing might have to be delegated, because you need to step up to a whole new level who you were before. You start to ask the questions, who do I need to become to be able to lead this company, to be able to grow this company, to live that vision that I wrote out. And now, sometimes one of the things, I don't know if you want to mention that's now at the end of this podcast, but you're going to have to start revisiting your business vision once in a while to see if this is still the case, right?
Yeah.
So when you mentioned at the beginning of this episode that these stages are kind of
in flux,
right?
Yeah.
You go from back and forth. It's true.
Yeah.
Because you constantly have to be at the check, and when you have the people in your corner to help you with that, it becomes a lot simpler.
Well, it's the same as your personal vision, right? Like no one write your vision once and you're done.
You don't laminate it.
Yeah, we have people come back to the Get Life Getaway 4 or 5. I think, we have one of our members, Adrian, who I think has been like 6 or 7 times, something crazy. And I'm like, why do you keep coming back? He's like, to refresh it and to level up. Like, I've already accomplished these things in my vision. Now I need to know like what's next for me. And so that's where, your business vision has that similar living, breathing document, kind of perspective on things. And so that's the other thing there is, I'll never forget, I sit with Clayton Mask, the CEO of Keep, and he said, it's all about breaking little pieces of yourself off as you grow a business and giving them to other people or different things to take it off your plate and giving that to somebody else. And he's like, it's constant. He's like, you're always breaking off a piece. And what you are, what you're left with really at some form becomes that highest potential for you as a leader, as a business founder, as a visionary, whatever that looks like for your particular situation. But you got to let go of those pieces, right? And that can be scary, can be painful, can be emotional, all of the above. And so this is where a lot of people get stuck as well. So that's part of that process. And so then stage 4 is now, when you're on stage 4, you have a true business. You are a true business owner. And so this is where now at this point, your business no longer requires you to any large extent, maybe not even at all. Again, this depends. I'm not saying you want to be completely hands off, and if you're hands off, you could look at your business like a stock holding. Like you could be the Warren Buffett of your business and kind of sit back and maybe you're on the board of advisors, or maybe you do nothing with it, or maybe you want to keep some of that, those kind of hands in the dirt kind of thing, and that's fine too. Like I said, there's no right or wrong way. Not everyone has to go through all these stages. That's okay. When you're stage 4, this is a business. Now you have an asset, which is has a saleable value, which may be important for you. Maybe it's not. But if it is, now you have a business that is a system. It's a process. It has tangible value that you can go out and sell, or you can leave it to your family, or they can, if you pass, they can sell it and it still has some value, versus the way most people's businesses are structured, that when they're gone, like the business is gone, there is no business. And so when you're in stage 4, now I think you're kind of, it's an interesting place to be in, which is, what's next? And this is where a lot of people, I think in Lifeonaire, I've seen this happen many times. You have the time, you have the money, you have an awesome life. You start asking yourself these kind of like next level questions, like, what's really most important to me in life? Or, am I really living my purpose? Like, is this really do I want to leave a legacy? Like, am I leaving the impact I want to leave? Who else is this about? Or what else is this about? You start to ask these questions at a higher level.
Yeah, and I think what ends up happening in stage 4, you start to really dive deeper into your personal vision and your business vision. I think those things start to become more relevant to a point where you're, like you said, you ask those questions, you go back to your personal vision, because now guess what? If you did what we were saying to do, you went through these stages, that personal vision that you're going after, you're probably most likely living that life right now, because you created the business that supports that life, right? That life vision that you created before. So if that's the case, are you, fulfilled? Are you where you want to be? Or you start asking those next questions of like leaving legacy. And now you start asking the questions, well, do I keep this business? Do I sell it off, right? Is there an exit strategy to this business? Those kinds of things, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you already had it in your business vision that is going to be an exitable business or whatever it might be, but you start to ask those different level questions. And the kinds of, sometimes I feel like some people go through these, it's like a revolving door, right? Because they go back and revisit the personal vision, and they might have to go level up. They're going to start thinking, well, I want a completely different business. Not that what I thought right now, I want to level it up even more. So now they're starting to, challenge themselves a little bit more. And we can talk about more about, your needs and things like that. But what ends up happening is the personal business vision come to full circle in that particular moment. And you start really to think about, just more than just you.
Well, and also transparency. Like, I don't talk about like Lifeonaire, for instance, man. Like, I was just having this conversation with my wife, the other day. She wants to retire. She
From you?
she probably that's probably she's 5 years too late for that. I don't like, I literally there's probably maybe 5% of the things that I do that I'm not crazy about, maybe 10% if I had to really start being stingy. I want to do exactly what I'm doing until the day I die. Like, I love it. It fits perfectly into my vision, my time, my schedule. It makes me the money out. Like, everything fits perfect. Like, and so that's where, like, I don't think, unless my vision were to suddenly change, like, I don't think I'd want to have nothing to do in terms of my business. I maybe I'd start another business, maybe, that'd be fun too. But like, I guess, like, this is where I want to give you the permission, the listener, the viewer, like, whatever works for you. Just make sure it works for you. Like, you may want a portfolio of businesses that you own, and you just have like a percentage ownership in each and of equity, and you just, maybe you're on the board and maybe you coach the leaders a little bit. Maybe that's your thing. Cool. Awesome. Like, run it. That'd be fantastic. But it's all about knowing what you want. That's the biggest thing. And then knowing how to get there.
That's why we keep going back to the business and personal vision. That's why it's so important to have those in place, written down.
Totally. Well, listen, we hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We hope you got something from it. So just to review the 4 stages of business prosperity. Number 1, stage 1, create your business vision. Stage 2, meet your financial needs. Stage 3, creating excess cash, right? And that's how we're using that to fuel the seed process and to scale our business if we want to. And stage 4 is the stage of true business ownership, where you can walk away and you have an asset. If you liked it, leave us a review, leave us a rating, give us a thumbs up, and tell somebody about this. Somebody that wants to start their own business, or who needs to hear this. Maybe they even have their business already now and they could use some help with this. We'd love to do that as well. All right, take care. We'll see you next week, everyone.